Oranga Tamariki has just released its third report into the safety of kids in state care, revealing 103 children have been victims of physical, emotional or sexual harm between January and March this year. Around 7,000 children are rated by state care every quarter.
The AM Show.
Okay, good morning. We are joined by Oranga Tamariki Deputy Chief Executive Hoani Lambert. Hoani, kia ora, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Morning, Duncan.
Okay, so it seems high. It seems too high. What's gone wrong here? Who are they caregivers that are abusing the kids?
Well, what we do is we report on all harm types for all perpetrators, not just caregivers, particularly in the area of sexual harm. We had 19 children who had experienced sexual harm reported within the quarter. I mean, not one of those was a parent caregiver, a non-kin caregiver. These are adults in the broader lives of these children, because what we're trying to report on are all harm in all settings.
And so are these, is the abuse or the harm or the neglect committed by the caregiver, or is it someone else?
Well, it's a combination, particularly in the area of emotional harm and neglect. Unfortunately, we're seeing a large number of children where the harm is occurring, where we're trying to either keep them in the home or return them back to the home with their parents. As an agency, this is an area that we're focusing on and that the government's focusing on, and that's why we've invested additional money in new intensive intervention services so that we can support a successful keeping of a child in their family home.
Okay, so but to me that says that we're putting them back into the home, and not always successfully, because the abuse continues. We're sending them back to that position where they were abused in the first place. It's dangerous.
Or we're not removing them, and that's based on an assessment where we think that if we can put the right support around a mother, father and their child, then we can reduce the harm associated with removing a child. And as you've heard from iwi and Māori over the last few months, they're putting a lot of pressure on us, quite rightfully, to try and make sure that we're not uplifting children unnecessarily. But what we need to do is, if we are keeping a child in the home, we need to make sure that we can do it safely and that we put the support around that arrangement.
Okay, and the majority of the cases obviously are successful, but in these instances, they're not successful. And to me, it screams a problem, because if we're keeping them in a home where the abuse is occurring, it's your job to uplift them and get them out of there.
Well, it's our job to keep them safe, and what we know is that there is harm created when we do remove a child unnecessarily. So, we're dealing with complex situations. Each one of them turn on their own facts. Removing a child is something that we have to do as a matter of last resort. We think, though, that we can do better, and that's why the government is investing additional money and trying to support these families much earlier so that we don't have this sort of harm occurring.
We need to be careful what we wish for here as well, or iwi perhaps need to be careful what they wish for. It's all very well saying, yes, let's keep them in the whānau unit, let's keep them in the wider whānau, in the family house or whatever. But what's the point if the abuse continues? I don't understand. You should be in there immediately, and they should be out.
Well, I don't know if it's as black and white as that. Families will say, if only we had the support earlier, then we could have addressed the causes of harm. That is what we're trying to do with these families. International research shows, and this is not just iwi Māori who are saying this, that there is long-term trauma created when we remove a child from its parents. So we can't assume that just by removing a child that we're keeping them safe, particularly when there can be long-term harm when they're separated from their parent.
It's a tough call for you. It's a tough call, isn't it? What do you do? Do you keep them with the family where there may be abuse happening, or do you take them out where, well, that's a form of abuse probably too, uplifting a child from the family? So how hard is it?
Well, it's difficult, but I think there are solutions, and particularly with what the government has promised through a greater investment in the work of not just us, but also the organisations that we work with, including iwi and Māori. I think the goal is to try and keep these children with their parents, but put the support around them so that this sort of harm is not occurring in the future.
How many uplift cases have there been this year? So if you look at from January the 1st till now, what's the number of uplift cases that you think would be involved?
Sorry, Duncan, I don't have that data on me, but we can provide it to you later on. Apologies.
Okay. Well, what was it last year, for instance? Do you have a generic figure for last year?
I don't have a generic figure of me.
Is it increasingly a problem for you, though, being caught in the middle of this?
So what we do have is an increasing number of children in care. That is because we're seeing children staying in care for longer. What we're making sure, though, is that even in the cases of children coming into care, for Māori children in particular, 72% of those children who are brought into care are placed with extended whānau. The focus for us over the next 12 months is to make sure that for all of those cases that we're putting the required support around them, particularly to avoid uplifts and removal from families. So working earlier, working more intensively and working in partnership with iwi and Māori, that is our focus over the next 12 months.
Good stuff. Appreciate your time. And don't forget to get back to us with the data. Is that okay?
Yes, yep, absolutely.
Cool.
Thanks, Duncan.
Appreciate it. Hoani Lambert, of course, from Oranga Tamariki. He's the Deputy Chief Executive.